Welcome back to Broncos Training Camp. I'm Sean Drochard. That's Nate Lundy from Mile High Sports Today. We are recapping the first week of Broncos Training Camp, Nate.
Yep.
Friday and Saturday available for the fans. Of course, it started a little earlier in the week. Wednesday and Thursday got practice into in the acclimation period. But when you think about what we've seen from the Broncos here, it feels very workman-like to me with a really positive energy. It's a team that in many ways almost looks like it's a little closer than you'd expect for one that sort of came together last year to get 10 wins and make it to the playoffs.
Well, I think we underestimate sometimes just human nature and the ability for these guys to connect and click the way that they did. And look, we all know that when you're a winning team, when you are a team that is finding success, all of the extra stuff, all of the peripheral stuff becomes easier. Mm-hmm. We know that.
Sure.
I mean, that's true in, work environment. That's true everywhere, right? And so I think that the fact that this team ended on a positive note, and I know I'm taking the Buffalo game out of it. This team ended on a positive note. They made the playoffs when people thought they were going to win 6 games. So
these people specifically,
these guys have had a chance to be able to gel. You and I have talked about it already. You're talking about the trenches on this team, the offensive side, the front seven on the defensive side. These are guys that have been playing together. These are guys that know each other. These are guys that, now when they're installing different schemes or different plays or different concepts, you're not also in the middle of getting to know the guy to your right or to your left. You already know that guy.
Yep.
And so I think that benefits the communication overall. Look, you're always going to have some sort of challenges. And, my guess is, by the time we get this time next week, these guys are going to be tired of beating up on each other. And, when they get the chance to go to San Francisco and do the joint practices with the Niners, or when Arizona comes here in a couple of weeks, those are all things that are going to kind of play out, right? We're going to get a little extra pushing and shoving with the Pats. But right now, the team, to sound like a damn Hallmark card, the family feel to this team, I think at least over the course of these first few days, as we get ready to go into week 2 next week, is tangible.
Yeah, there's a lot of different camaraderie. And as Nate said, a lot of it has to do with just consistency, right? The Broncos for nearly a decade have been rotating out who knows how many players and coaches and all of that sort of thing, especially trying to find a quarterback. Now, The point you're making, especially when there's continuity on the offensive line, and the offensive line in particular, because you're talking about knowing where that guy on your right or your left is going to be. Mm-hmm. And you think about it from an offensive lineman perspective, you can't look. I mean, you have to know if I'm back here, I have to know this person's going to grab that guy in the stunt. You have to know what they're going to do and how they play. So the continuity on the offensive line, same 5 starters, is immensely valuable. And you're right to bring up that on the defensive line, you're still talking about John Franklin Myers, Zach Allen, DJ Jones, and generally Malcolm Roach coming out of there. Mm-hmm. That's the same 4 again. So some familiarity there. And football still, you can dance around at any time you like. It is still a sport where controlling the line of scrimmage is how you control a game. And so if you have defensive line continuity, offensive line continuity, and they're both good, which they are, you find yourself with a really, really good base, especially if you can find a quarterback who can at least make the trains run on time. And Bo Nix appears to be able to do more than that.
Yeah, I think he's able to do that. And I think that what that also leads into is the other thing I wanted to talk about that I felt came out of these first few days as we've been sitting here watching. And again, from our vantage point from the tent that we broadcast, we get to see them running a lot of the offense and stuff like that, stuff that we're not allowed to film and post for you, but that we can at least observe ourselves. And here's one of the things I'll talk about in terms of the interaction with Sean Payton and the wide receiving core. Okay, so it's not just Court, it's not just Troy Franklin, it's not just Devon Vele, it's not just Pat Bryant. I'm talking everybody. I'm talking guys that are likely practice squad or special teams kind of guys. Okay, but he is out here like I like that. But then it's a little thing like, I want you to go just a little tick further into the back of the end zone, right? But there is an immense amount of positivity going on.
You're right.
And I think that the reason why, and the fans who sit like directly above where Sean and I are sitting right now, the fans that are in the bleachers and are watching can probably sense a lot of that themselves as well. There is just kind of this good vibe. And I know that we're just a few days in. And I think that, as we sit here and kind of give you the recap on a Sunday, I think that we need to recognize that we are right at the beginning, right? Like this is still the honeymoon period, including for some of these, undrafted free agents, to some of the new faces that are brought in,
all the rookies,
et cetera. You're in the honeymoon bubble right now. There will inevitably be a day, Sean, probably over the course of week 2, where we see Sean Payton barking at somebody or barking at a particular position group, or, I mean, heck, last year during training camp, we saw a couple times where he brought everybody into a circle and had a few words and then sent everybody back out. And inevitably that's going to happen, right? It just is. That's the nature of a team sport. And that's the nature of a coach that has really, really high expectations. But I think so far, when I watch Sean Payton interact with these wide receivers who you and I and all the fan base have a lot of questions about.
Yes.
I'm liking what I'm seeing so far, because I do believe that we are seeing the positivity that's there. And what I would say is you're seeing in the actions on the field by Sean Payton exemplifies why each of those guys is on the roster, whether they on the training camp roster, whether they make the roster or not, or wind up on the practice squad is yet to be seen. But you can see in the play calling and in what's happening with Bo Nix, as well as with Stidham and with Ellinger, you're seeing the play calling and the performance out there. It gives you reassurance that there's a lot in that wide receiver room, and it's going to take him a minute to pick it apart, but he likes what he sees.
Well, and to be honest out here, I liked what we saw as well. I talked about this with Troy Rank on Miley Sports Today on Friday. We talked about the idea that Sean Payton doesn't really care what outside observers think about the talent that he's brought in, the talent on his roster. Like you said, he believes that I may love some of these guys more than other people love them, but that's also because he's looking for something in particular. And I think on Saturday, we watched a lot of the drills right in front of our tent, where we had a chance to watch a lot of the wide receiver quarterback interactions, some red zone goal line type of thing. And the truth of the matter is, look, Sean Payton and to a lesser extent George Payton look at this early stage to be right, because we had a chance to hear from Sean Payton earlier at the tail end of last week, where the first two guys he brought up were Troy Franklin and Devon Vele, who look good, and there are other players that look good. It is training camp, it is practice. Defensive players are not hitting people. That they're it's not the 100%. Same thing. So when fans look at it and there's an out route to a touchdown, but the defense is not physically trying to break it up. Sometimes it's even a coach coming out and covering a guy, because a lot of it's more about timing and learning the routes. But the truth of the matter is, there does appear to be reasons why Sean Payton and George Payton decided we actually are pretty comfortable with our wide receiver room. We brought in Pat Bryant. We're going to see how this plays out and then go from there. And I think the early returns, at least since we were here at basically this exact same spot, watching these same guys last year as rookies, I think there's clear visible growth.
Yeah, I think there is. And don't underestimate just the growth that Bo went through last season, and as well as the off season, that plays into it. I mean, look, at the end of the day, as our buddy Joel Klatt likes to say, wide receiver is a dependent position.
It is.
You're only as good as your quarterback.
And your offensive line.
And
to a certain extent, your running game.
Sure. But you're dependent. Right?
Absolutely.
You are dependent on somebody being able to put the ball where it's supposed to be.
It's the most dependent position in the game.
And to your point, folks, if we were to spin this camera around right now, you would see that we're basically in the end zone of the East Field that sits at Broncos Park, powered by Common Spirit. And so a lot of the goal line types of plays that they did, there were a lot that were, we're going to set up at the 10, we're going to set up at the 5, we're going to set up at the 2. They were trying different goal line types of plays. Well, a lot of them were those fade routes into the corners and things like that. I saw the guys look really, really good. I saw guys tiptoeing the line. I saw guys making sure that they got their feet in bounds, and I saw the ball coming in for the most part. There were a few that were a little off. Coming in at that right angle, right? That angle that you want to see in that drop to make sure that the only guy that can get it is the receiver, or it's going out of bounds, one or the other. Those are the kinds of things that show not just the quality of the quarterback that Bo Nix is, and even Stidham and Ellinger, by the way, because they were doing it as well, but also this connection between the receivers and Bo.
And the other thing to keep in mind, too, is this Broncos defense is still the strength of the team. And guess what? It still looks like it. And for what the receivers were doing on Saturday. And thanks, by the way, for all the fans that show up, because but to be totally honest about how this generally works, and you can understand why, when the fans show up, they run a little more red zone and drills right here, right in front of us.
Yeah, we appreciate that.
We have our friends at NFL Network, Cynthia Freeland and Patrick Claybon, almost got clobbered by Pat Bryant sliding right out of the end zone.
Sean, I warned them. Here. Okay, I warned them on Saturday that last year Bo Nix tried to kill
us. The treat about that is that we get to see it closer than usual because they want the fans to see it, and that's exciting. But what you also can't help but notice is that even though these are nice routes and the passes all look good, Most of the time, those guys are well covered. They are not running
they
outwards, and that includes Jade Barron, that includes Chris Abrams, Drain, that includes everybody in those cornerback rooms that's been out there. They look good, they look promising, and they look like they're just going to pick up where they left off.
And I'll also throw this out there: at times with the drills, the defense is going at what I would call about 70%.
Yes.
All right, they are actually purposely, especially if what they're trying to do is implement plays.
Yeah.
The stuff that we're not allowed to talk to you about. But if they're trying to implement very specific plays or very specific routes or things like that, the secondary actually plays off just a little bit because part of what they're trying to do is get the receivers used to where they're supposed to be on the field, right? So there are definitely a couple of times where I think we could have seen a ball batted down or even picked.
What's better for an offense than to practice against a great defense every day? All it's going to do is make you better.
Of course. Look, I mean, we can go all the way back to when Peyton Manning was here. And this defense and guys like Chris Harris Jr. and Aqib Talib and the no-fly zone used to talk about how great it was for them to be able to go up against Demarius.
Sure.
To go up against a big physical wide receiver.
Peyton Manning throwing passes.
Exactly. I mean, that was something that benefited the offense, but it also benefited the defense because you are having to go up against somebody that's got a great skill set. So again, we just wanted to do like a little quick recap for you as you sit here on the off day that is Sunday. Give you a little recap. We of course will be at Broncos training camp for all of this upcoming week, Monday through Saturday. They've got 6 days of practice coming up in week 2. A reminder that on Monday through Friday, you will find us doing Mile High Sports Today with our friends at Downhill Brewing, which is on Arapahoe Road, just east of I-25. We basically do everything here at camp. And then we take all of our gear, we set up, we do the show from there, we bring guests with us, etc. So if you are coming out to camp, or even if you're just looking for a chance to have a little happy hour at a great brewery down here that's not too far from Broncos Park, make sure that you join us there at Downhill Brewing. We'll see you every afternoon coming up this week, Monday through Friday.
Yeah, looking forward to it. For all of us here at Mile High Sports, we'll be back at it on Monday. He's Nate Lundy. I'm Sean Drotar. Catch you then.